Hey YouTube, and thanks for watching Junkworks Garage. Well, I bought new battery maintainers. I'll have a separate video on those. But regardless, I'm going to kind of hook that whole system up to this. And in the meantime, I need to pull this out and do it so it's more of a permanent thing. Right now, we just got a board in here and it barely holds on. And I got this in here and it'll charge the battery, but all this sits in here and bounces around, so it's not in here very well. In fact, I thought it would be better than that, and it's not. So I don't do a lot of bouncing around, but I want it done better. I'm not even sure if this is going to be the battery I wind up with in the end, but we are going to make an actual battery compartment in here somewhere that holds the battery nice and tight and the way it should be held. First thing I had was this right here was not tight, and I bolted this on here, just got some new bolts and bolted it right there. So I got that nice and on there. Thought that would fix my starting problem. Well, my starting problem turned out to be this wire right here was not connected well. So I've reconnected that. Also, my switch, ignition switch here, it's where the key goes in, just moves all around. So I need to tighten that up. And I can't remember, I think I've tightened this up before, but I think this on the back here is loosening up, so I probably need to get a new one of those. But for right now, I'm going to see if I can tighten this front bezel a little better. It's better, but it's not great. So we're going to try and get this one back here to go ahead and tighten up back here now. And we're just trying to get it kind of back on the road for now. I'm going to do probably a complete rewire of this tractor at some point. But right now, it's just making things better. And that's just really not going to work. And what do okay. Yeah, see this nut? I need to replace this. I don't know what they call these, but they're just like sheet metal that's been bent into the shape of a nut. They're like speed nuts, I think is what they call them, but they're junk. Well, going through my weird nuts and bolts bin, I actually found another one here. Probably equally as poor, but yet again, this whole thing needs replaced at some point. I think it's a little bit smaller, but once you get these going on, they tend to match whatever size you're putting them on. I don't think this originally came with the tractor either. So that's part of the problem we're having, is that needs to go all the way back. And in the midst of going through my weird nuts and bolts stuff, I found a brighter, shinier one of these that seems to fit on here, or it did anyway. There we go. Alright. Well, it's not moving around in there now. Hopefully I can actually turn the key without it turning all the way around. I don't know what direction. There we go. Alright, I'm happy with that. Like I said, at some point all this is going to change, but right now I'm just trying to make it so it starts every time I hit the starter, instead of having to reach around and mess with this stuff and mess with this stuff trying to get this thing started. The next thing we have going on here is the negative battery cable is just bolted right there to the back of the dashboard here. And not only does that make it more difficult to get the battery in here because it's just in the way, but it's not a very good grounding. Been kind of messing with things, trying to figure stuff out, and I realized to get the battery in here that I have, it's definitely going to be hitting on this. So I needed to bring it up. So I found this right here, which actually I cut down from a piece like this that was just a I believe it came off the bottom of an appliance. I'm not sure where I got it from, but regardless, I think that will bring it up. If I put one right there and another one back here, which you probably can't see, I think that'll bring it up enough to where the battery will just kind of, it might touch it a little bit, but right now I'm not going to worry about it. So at some point, a lot of this is going to come back apart. So since I can't really figure out any other plans of how to hook this here, I'm going to go ahead and tack weld this onto here with a couple of good tacks, and hopefully it'll sit nice. I'm going to bring that over a bit because I don't know if you can see that right there. That is kind of your throttle basically. It adjusts your timing, but I'm not going to get into that. But it makes it so it's got to be able to move. If I'm into this and it hits, that's not good. So I'm going to bring it over a little bit. We also need to make sure the battery doesn't hit, but if I bring this all the way up as far as it'll go, that just comes pretty much straight up right there. It might yet again touch the side of it, but I never need to bring it up that far anyway. At least not right now. I'm going to put this against here. I'm going to throw a couple of tacks on here. I've covered up my fuel tank. Unfortunately, the fuel tank is right there. I'm going to be real careful with that. I'm going to walk away from that because that might be galvanized metal. Don't want to be welding galvanized metal without a mask. I'm going to go grab my mask, even for those little tacks, because that can really mess with your head and nervous system, which I already have problems with. I pulled this out just messing with it, and it actually accidentally kind of popped apart. I don't know exactly what this light is. I'm assuming it's a temperature light, like if it's overheating or something like that. And then we got, this says amps, but it's a fuel gauge, which also is broken and definitely not working. So I am going to see if this little light here will work if I ground it out and put some power to it. I don't know. Alright, I don't know if you can see down there, but I got my little jumper box there on. We're going to see. There we go. So obviously that bulb works. So whether or not the sensor it's hooked to works, I don't know. That's something down the line we'll figure out. And I'm just going to remove this altogether right now until I either get a new one. So I got the battery in here, just kind of threw my cables on. They're good enough that they should do something. Made sure it was in neutral and went to hit the key and absolutely nothing happens. So I've been trying to figure this out. I checked the battery. Battery had 12 volts. Everything seemed fine. The only thing that I really changed was I took this out, but it just had one wire going to here, which I got rid of, but I still left it hooked up in the same place on the switch here, so that shouldn't affect anything as far as that. I messed with this. I still haven't hooked this up to any kind of a ground yet, but that shouldn't also affect anything. So I got out my tester here and started making sure. I just put it on is it ohms? That one right there. I put it on that. I believe it's ohms, but yet again, my dad was an electrical engineer, so I know enough about electrical and how it works, but I don't know all the technical things, and I've forgotten half the things I did know. So I went ahead and checked this wire here. I actually redid it, thinking maybe it was still having a problem, so I clipped that, made sure that we had from here to here. We're good. We know that that's working fine. So, and this is when a series of unfortunate things happened. I don't know what. It's that whole electrical gremlins. If it can happen, it will happen. So we'll give you a little glimpse of sort of what I was doing and the testing I was doing. but I've had battery issues, solenoid issues, jumper box dying, not getting the grounds done right. Just all kinds of things happen here. So unfortunately, I'm going to show you a few clips of that. I'm not going to show you everything because then things just go on way too long and people don't want to see what I did wrong. They want to see how to do it right. And quite honestly, I don't know how many people are going to watch this video anyway, because it's just me working on my tractor trying to figure out a few electrical gremlins that I thought I had fixed until I started messing with it. Unfortunately, when I started messing with it, I think I did something else as well. So I filmed all this, and unfortunately I forgot to hit the button or something. I don't know exactly what happened. I went ahead and took my jumper box. I got it set up right here. It's on. To make sure that I wanted to make sure the starter was working. So I grounded it out there and I tapped that, and I know the starter's turning over. This battery's starting to already die on this thing, unfortunately. So that tells me the starter is working, which then brings me back to thinking there's a disconnect, because I know I got power going to here, but for some reason we're not getting juice over to here. So I took the same battery pack thing here, and I'm grounding it not to the starter. There's a bolt where the bolt that bolts the starter to the transmission, for lack of a better way of putting it. And if I take this while it's on and I stick it on this side of this, we have juice. Just like how this battery here is hooked on. So we got juice to this side, we got a good ground. I turn the key and nothing happens. So then I came over here and I tapped this. Hopefully you can see that now. We got the solenoid here. I hooked it up to that side, nothing. If I hook it up to this side, it tries to start the tractor. Yet again, I went through, I tested the switch. I know this switch is working, at least it was when I tested it. We'll see. Then I started thinking it was the starter, so then I tested the starter, showed you that. Hopefully this is all in here somewhere. But regardless, so that brought me back to here, thinking there was a problem with this. And as you heard, I'm assuming anyway, during some of this fiasco, when I went to hit the button, nothing, no sounds or nothing would happen. And at least right now, the last time I started just kind of messing with this, see, now there's nothing. If I mess with it, I can get it to make noises, at least until the battery maybe dies. We'll see. Hopefully you heard that. I'm not going to do it anymore. I believe that this solenoid is shot. And part of the reason why I think that this happened, because I drove this in here. I drove the tractor in here. I hit this with the welder when I was going to weld this up here. I accidentally kind of nicked onto the ground here. And I think I might have done something to the solenoid, unfortunately. So now I need to see if I can find another solenoid. I have a couple of them around here, but I have no idea if any of them are any good, so we shall see. Alright, so now I got a whole setup going. I got two batteries, my battery charger hooked up over there, and we're at going up in 13.9 volts right there. I don't know if you can see that, but that is what it is. So if we ever had enough juice for this thing to turn over, hopefully it would be right around now. It's definitely, the solenoid here is clicking for sure. Let's see if we got enough juice yet. I don't know why this is turning over so difficultly. We're down to 12.9. I'm going to watch this battery voltage here. Yeah, it goes right down to 5 volts. So there's no way this is going to turn over. That could be some of my problem, is we just don't have enough voltage staying in the battery long enough to make anything turn over. Got this battery hooked up, just kind of jammed in here right now. And I'll be honest, I tried it, and at least you can hear it's yet again relay click and nothing happening. Okay, so when I jump it, this battery is definitely working better. So now I know that battery's toast. Now you need volts DC when you're doing 12 volts, in case you don't already know that. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of check that there. And this has 12.5 volts, so we should have more than enough juice in this battery to start anything. We also technically should be hooked up in a way that should start this tractor. And unfortunately, when I go to hit the key, nothing happens. So that right there shows me that I got some sort of problem either in my switch or in my solenoid. So yet again, we can kind of do the same thing. We know that the power's here, but is the power going from here to here through that wire? And yes, so this wire is good, this wire is good. We're going to check all these wires everywhere where it's hooked on one side. Make sure that all these wires are going to wherever it is they go to. This one goes down to the coil. So we got coil wires good. This wire from the switch that should be, I'm not exactly sure, switch, it should be igniting this, I believe. That would be that one. That's the thing. I'm not sure exactly where or why all these things do what they do. But regardless, all the wires in this system, I got to check this one here. But this one here is actually going to the alternator, and this black one here goes up to the light up here. I wasn't sure exactly what those were, but that's what that is. This has been converted over to 12 volts. It has an alternator and a 12 volt system. This starter solenoid here is not the original one that was on it. I had 3 or 4 different ones, and the one that was originally on it appears to be just an old, like a Ford one, probably what came on a Ford tractor in these days. It looks similar to what's in my Ford Mustang, my old Mustang. So playlist on that if you want to go check out my 65 Mustang as well. But regardless, it looked more like that. So I had 2 or 3, I don't know, 2 or 3 different ones of these, and I've tried them all, and it's the same thing is going on, which started making me think it was the switch. So this is going to voltage here, so I'm going to go to volts, DC, and when I touch this right here with the key off, we are getting 12.5 volts. So the battery is definitely coming to here. Now let's see here. I'm going to ground this. So I'm grounded right here. I know we got a good ground. I'm going to go to volts, DC yet again. We want direct current, and I'm going to see where we're at there. So we got 12.5 volts going here. We got nothing going there, nothing going there, and that's grounded. So far the only thing that's got power is right here. Now technically when I hit this switch right here, we should get voltage here, but we don't get any voltage right here. So we got no voltage there. We're obviously going to have voltage here, but let's see if anything spikes. No. When I do that, when I actually turn the key, we're down to, it goes down to 12.3. Turn the key back off. Could just be I'm 12.4, so it's going up. So we got 0 volts there. When I turn the key, it goes up to 12.2 volts right there. So when I turn the key here, it is charging up this right here, which I believe should send power to here. So for some reason, we're going to check that. So yet again, I got it on what I believe is ohms. And I'm going to test what happens if I can get this to stay there. We got nothing there, but when I turn the key, we technically should have something, but we don't. This is what I've been starting it with recently until I figured out that this wire right here was just not connecting right, and then I connected that and it's been working ever since. But if I take this, I can make the starter work. So I know it's not the starter. I'm going to bypass this. This is not something you normally want to maybe do, but I guess in a pinch it works. So if I take this right here and I bypass it inside there, all right, so that works. So something inside here, something in the solenoid is not working. Something's wrong, but I don't know. What I'm going to do is I bought a new solenoid. I'm gonna go ahead and switch it out with one that like the one that was in here and see if maybe there's something in this that just doesn't want to play with what I got here. But in theory, I know the starter's working and the switch appears to be working as well. I'm gonna go ahead and unhook the battery, unhook all this stuff up, and I'm gonna hook another one of these back in here and we will see what happens. Alright, now I have to admit I'm not sure where this one went. I believe it was on this one here because of I had some goop on it just to kind of keep the corrosion down, and that appeared to be on this particular stud more. I know that some, like the other one only had one. This one has two of the smaller studs. And I don't know if this is like a to relay other power off of or exactly why, what, or how. I'm not comfortable using power tightening this up. Let's not break this any sooner than it needs to be. We've replaced the solenoid now. I'm hoping this switch is working. Everything seems to be testing out like it should have worked in the first place. Well, I ended this video and then I realized I hadn't actually put a battery tie down on here yet. So I need to get the battery in place where I know it's going to work. That should be okay. Battery's hitting a little bit on there, but I need to kind of go that way anyway. So, and I never put this this far up. I just in case something changes and I need to be able to, I'll be able to. So I found this right here, and I have no idea where I got it from. I found this right here. It's an old shelving bracket. I have a couple of them, but it's one that I don't use for anything, and it's not super heavy duty, so I really won't probably want to use it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this down, straighten this out, and see if I can use this as the strapping like I would use this for. We'll see. So if I was to bring that across there, I need to straighten this one out better across there, but I think that should be hopefully more than enough if I cut along this line here. And I haven't decided actually. I'm going to try something else real quick here, just for kicks and giggles. If I actually take this and do something like this with it, and take this bend out, put that bend in there, and then actually just use this to bolt it right down to each side of that. I need to look on the other side, and that's more than long enough there. So I think that's what we're going to do. I'm going to use this whole strap just like that, bolt it here and bolt it somewhere here, and we're going to make that work. I actually marked this. I'm going to cut this straighter here, but I'm going to make a bend right here and actually bend it clear up underneath. And I'm hoping that I can hook this on one side and bolt this into the other, and we'll have a nice little strap that should be fairly simple to unhook here. So now we got a hook. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can't bend it the rest of the way a little bit here, and hopefully when I hook that around there, that'll stay. So I realize that this is going to hit, and this needs cleaned up on this side anyway, so I need to cut this. So yet again, we're going to use a straight edge. We're going to go ahead and cut that right there. Hopefully you can see now, I've put a couple more bends in this, and I made this bend tighter as well, because I couldn't get this where I needed it. Plus, the tighter this bend is, the more sturdy it is, so it won't bend back out. So this goes up underneath one side, and this needs to come over under the battery, go down and bolt in. I'm hoping this is long enough. I probably shouldn't have cut this end off and kept it long, made the loop at the end, and started just re-bending the whole thing. But we're going to try this out and see how it works first. This is going to totally change depending on your situation, obviously. So I'm just kind of making it work. And yet again, it's just one of those things I'm doing on my tractor, so we're turning it into a video here to kind of catch up on things. This has to go in between this rod right here, which is basically the throttle, we'll just call it that, and it goes on this side, and then I got to bend this down and it pops underneath, and then I pull up and it just hooks right to the side of that. And I'm going to put it right where that hole is there, because that's kind of where it is on the other side that I'm going to have a bolt going through. Hopefully my arm wasn't totally in the way of everything I just did. But regardless, if I have to, I could put some sort of clamp here or drill a hole here and bolt this in as well. We'll see. But that seems to somewhat work. This is going to go down and around here. And I was really hoping it'd be long enough to bolt to that hole right there. But what I may do is go ahead and straighten this bend out a little bit, straighten that bend out a little bit, and get it to where that hole lines up right there. In fact, I may be able to do that with it on the tractor here. Let's kind of mess with things here. There we go. I think that's gonna pretty much do right there. We got this here. I had to drill out the hole a little bit here, and I got a bolt that I cut down, and I got a wing nut here, so hopefully I can get this on and off without tools. We'll see if I'll be able to hold that, but I should be able to if I do it all by hand. And I am actually going to go get, I think, a lock nut as well to put behind this, so that just kind of gives it a little tension. And then hopefully we'll be able to bolt this thing up. Put the bolt in there. Got this on here, and let's not zap ourselves on that. In fact, I have an idea. I'm going to actually, since we're doing a wiring thing here, I'm going to unhook this from the battery, and I'm actually going to put a cover on this, and maybe on that as well. I think I got a couple covers I might be able to boot so that I can put over that. We're going to do that as well. I got that on there, so we won't have any hopeful accidents here. I'm going to bend that more, but right now we're going to go ahead and get this the rest of the way on here. Alright, it's pretty tight. Oh yeah, that ain't going nowhere. This moves a little bit, but it'll move side to side a little bit, but it ain't coming out of there. I might revisit this down the road a ways, but for right now, this is definitely better than what I had, and we're going to call it good for now. It's not exactly perfect, but it's going to do the job. So you may also notice I have a new battery here. I went ahead and changed that out. So I am going to go ahead and hook that up now. I have new solenoid, new battery going here. I'm hoping that's just good enough to make power for now. If we have a problem, then I'll tighten them up more, but right now I want to be able to pull those off if I need be. New battery, new solenoid, everything I think is hooked up. The only difference, like I said, was the gauge up here. That needs moved there as well because my hood is hitting it. This light is, I believe, something to do with the alternator as well. Whether it's, I'm assuming when it comes on, that means it's not charging. I don't know. It's never came on, but it does work. We tested that. So now it is time to see if this solenoid is what the problem was. I don't have high hopes, to be honest. Oh, thank you, goodness. A couple of things that I don't know if they didn't get filmed because I didn't hit the button or what. I've been having a heck of a time trying to film this, so I'm just going to kind of go through it. I did have to put the negative cable on the other side because of this battery, and also because of this battery, it's like an inch taller than the one that originally I had on this tractor. I do need to put some covers on this, so when I close the hood, it's not touching, but I am a little bit worried that it could if it jiggled wrong or something fell on the hood and pushed it down a little bit, that maybe it would touch. So I am going to take this and put this on here. I only have a black one that'll fit over this, so that's what's going on it. The cable is red. Hopefully that'll take care of it. I have a red marker. I'm going to put a big giant plus sign on this when I'm done. But also you'll see that because this is on here, I can't get this over this. So I am going to have to stick it up through this. And then that covers that right there. And also on this side, I want this covered as well. I actually did. I don't know if it ended up on film or not, but I did actually touch that with something when I was tightening with a wrench, and it did zap. So we're going to go ahead and put this one on, which is a red one. It's a little smaller, but I know it'll fit over this. So that seems to have worked. I am so happy about that, because that's why they call them electric gremlins, is that one thing will go bad, another thing will go bad, and then the next thing goes bad when you're done with that. I could turn around after shutting off the camera here, go to start it, and it won't start again. Who knows? But for right now, I have finally got it to where I can start it up. So I'm going to finish putting, the whole point was to change these hydraulic cylinders out, and I just want to test the one on that side to see if what I did is even going to work. And that'll be on the George Massey Ferguson playlist, first of all, on my channel. Go check that out if you want to see it. But that video will be on that playlist on my channel. So regardless, it was the solenoid, and that's why you shouldn't keep old electronics around, because they'll mess with you. I do plan on absolutely taking all this that's in here and rewiring it with new stuff. I try to diagnose stuff on this channel because I get so many comments saying I'm just a parts changer, not a mechanic. And to some extent that's true, but I've spent 3 days trying to diagnose this thing. It had two problems, the battery problem and the solenoid problem. I figured out earlier that it was a battery problem, so I went and bought a new battery, and that didn't change anything. The battery was going down to like 5 volts when I hit the key, so obviously there was a problem with the battery. The battery wasn't holding the charge even though it had 12 volts when I started. Second, the solenoid. The solenoid sort of tested out like I showed you, but the tests were incorrect, I guess, the way I was doing it or something, because it wasn't working the way it should have been working. So I threw the new solenoid on, and I was thinking it wasn't going to work, and it worked, obviously. Now that's why I sometimes just replace parts. Instead of spending 3 days diagnosing this thing, I could have spent $11, which I did, on a new solenoid, which is what I wanted to do before I even bought the battery. The battery really threw me off, I'll be honest. But before I even bought the battery, I was planning on just buying a solenoid, and I thought, no, because everybody will just call me another parts changer. So, and I should just, I got to quit worrying about what people are saying. Most of you like my videos that are watching. But beyond that, rather than spend the 3 days, I could have spent the $11, changed the thing out. I would have started it probably with the bad battery, would have probably at least cranked it over, and I would have known it was a solenoid. And I would have known that, hey, my battery's too dead to start this thing. Let's go get another battery. But no, I wanted to try and be a diagnoser, a real mechanic, instead of doing what I thought I should do just because in my head, that was the problem. And then I started diagnosing things, and in my head, everything else was wrong, and it was something I did. But regardless, sorry about the rant. Now get out there and get your junk working. Thanks for watching Junk Works Garage, where I'm proud to say I'm a jack of all, and obviously master of none. You all have a good one. Okay, well that was a bad idea.